I'm Davy. I'm awesome. Welcome to Dave's Awesome Wrestling, where I review wrestling-related things, all from the perspective of a fan, not an insider. So, something I've been meaning to watch and review for a little bit, the groundbreaking Netflix series, WWE Unreal. 5 episodes came out not that long ago, where they were going to take us behind the scenes and show us the creative of how they planned WrestleMania. Starting with episode 1, New Era. It starts out with a profile on Cody Rhodes, giving us his real name, Cody Runnels, talking about how he's the best babyface in the company, which Triple H commented on is very difficult to keep them loving you. Then went into John Cena and how he was coming back for a retirement tour. And it also profiled Rhea Ripley, who in this admitted the Ripley comes from the character from Alien. And it also went into her rivalry with Liv Morgan and how she injured herself and had to take time off. The main thing it focused on that was really cool was it actually led us into the gorilla position, specifically with their debut on Netflix and how that show ran and all the producers behind the scenes, like Chris Park, who was Abyss, and Bobby Roode and Hurricane and Bruce Pritchard. And it was really cool to finally get to see like the inner workings of the gorilla position, how it works, how they relay messages to the referee, who relays the messages to the talent. It was just really cool. The gorilla position, so named for Gorilla Monsoon. Episode 2, Push. It starts with Cody Rhodes winning the WWE Undisputed, at the time, championship at WrestleMania 40, and had a tear-jerking moment as after the match he went backstage and, Cody Rhodes talking about how he wished his dad could have been there to see him win the title, the late great Dusty Rhodes. And they told a little story about how Dusty Rhodes, he'd made a lot of money, but then had made some bad financial decisions and went broke, had to sell a lot of stuff, including one thing he really, really loved, his gold Rolex. And how after that match, they had found that very gold Rolex and presented it as a gift to Cody Rhodes. It was very touching. It also went into Jey Uso and how they were coming up with the decision to start pushing him as a singles wrestler. Went into CM Punk and how they were pushing him, but then at the Royal Rumble right before WrestleMania 40, he hurt himself. But this all leading to last year's WrestleMania and their decision to shock everybody by having Jey Uso be the one to win the Royal Rumble. And it did shock everybody. Episode 3, Worth the Wait. Started out with Bianca Belair and her mostly talking about her braid. Why she decided to keep it, use it, all that stuff. Then it went into Chelsea Green, somebody who had been really going through a lot trying to get somewhere, and her profile up to winning the very first Women's United States Championship. And Charlotte Flair and her knee injury and her comeback. This one was more focusing on the women and the Women's Royal Rumble, how Charlotte Flair had won it last year, and why they decided to do that. And even the storyline of what they decided to do with Jade Cargill getting injured, and just showing you the creative process, that they had plans for her, but she got injured, so they had to find a way to write her off, and then had to come up with, okay, now who done it? And all that leading up into the last Elimination Chamber, when she returned and unveiled who did it by going into the chamber just to beat up Naomi. It was her that did it. Episode 4, Heel Turn. It started out with focusing a little bit on the New Day and their heel turn that they did when Big E came in to say that because he can't wrestle anymore, he was going to be their managers, and they basically just laid into him for, well, having the nerve to get hurt, I guess. I mean, it did work. It turned 2 of the most likable guys into 2 of the most hated heels. Kind of wonder why they haven't done anything with that lately, but whatever. But most of this episode was focusing on John Cena, and we got to see, again, the creative process behind what made them decide to, instead of doing the feel-good match of babyface John Cena on his retirement tour versus babyface Cody Rhodes, why they decided to turn him heel, how they decided to do it, how Triple H called 5 people, Nick Khan, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and John Cena, discussed it with each one of them individually, and them and Triple H, all 6, on board with this. And how they had to keep it secret, which is difficult to do nowadays in the internet age. But they did. They kept it secret all the way up until Elimination Chamber when John Cena won. The Rock told Cody Rhodes he wanted his soul, and Cody Rhodes said no, and John Cena turned. And what made that so interesting is it was a heel turn that I was very in favor of. One, because we just really needed to see a John Cena heel thing, and it was hot. And also, it just made for a much more interesting match leading up into WrestleMania. Even though, in my opinion, the match itself was meh, but it was a much better story. Episode 5, what all this was leading to, what we were basically seeing a year worth of creative going on, WrestleMania. It started with them deciding that Charlotte Flair was going to take on Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Championship, and how that infamous promo where things got heated, where Tiffany got mad and got personal, bringing up Charlotte Flair's divorce, and it's showing that apparently that was not received well in the back. Charlotte Flair was very upset, very angry, and Triple H sent somebody to go tell Tiffany Stratton that's not how we do things, she needs to go apologize. One thing I did love about this documentary was how real it got. Like, not just with listening to these people talk like real people, i.e., there was cursing. At one point before WrestleMania, CM Punk sitting with a couple of the guys just talking and bringing up the fact that apparently something that's kind of happened to everybody that's ever wrestled, they pooped themselves in a match. And even asking Charlotte Flair if she's ever pooped herself in a match, and she said no, and if I did, I would never tell you, but admitted she's peed on accident. It was a interesting little anecdote. Went into them rethinking Jey Uso because you could see he wasn't quite living up to it, but they ended up just going with him, and he won the title at WrestleMania. Showed Charlotte Flair and showed what led up to Tiffany Stratton retaining her title. Showed again the creative process of how originally for the first night main event they were going to let CM Punk win, but then they said what would make a better story would be Heyman turning on both him and Roman Reigns and siding with Seth. We got to see the creative process behind that. We also got to get a little emotional as CM Punk finally got to live his dream of main eventing a WrestleMania. Didn't care if he won or lost, he just got to main event. Went into a little bit of the Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley title match where Io Sky retained. And then, of course, ended with all that went into, which was there's so much that went into John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the championship at WrestleMania 41. Everything including Travis Scott being involved in the match and everything. So it was really cool to get all this behind the scenes stuff. So ultimately, with the docuseries WWE Unreal, I loved it. And that's different than most of the ones I review. Like, most of the ones I review, I like them, I really enjoyed them. I loved this one. This one, I started watching, it was really hard for anybody around me to get my attention because I was glued to it. Not to mention most docuseries that I review, I'll watch an episode, go do something else, come back and watch an episode. I'm not much of a binge watcher kind of person. I binged watched WWE Unreal because it was just so cool for me as a wrestling fan to get that little glimpse into what goes into the creative process was just really freaking awesome. I know there has been some backlash. There have been some wrestlers who've gone on their podcasts and said they don't like it because it's breaking the fourth wall and now there's nothing to protect. And I've even seen some fans saying that they don't want to watch it because they don't want to see that stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you, personally I was a little nervous to watch it because I was worried it was almost going to be like years and years ago when they had this big huge series where they were unveiling magicians' tricks and how they did them. And the thing is whereas that series was interesting, what I didn't like about it is that it took the fun out of it. Because now I can't sit there and watch magicians do these tricks and be impressed because I know how you did it. And I was worried about that too with Unreal. But to me, that's not what it was like. To me, it wasn't like getting to see the magician's secrets. It was more like watching a DVD extra of how they pulled off these special effects. Like back in the day when they actually used to use effects and not CGI. Like, how did they make the room spin around? How did they make bugs come out of the guy's stomach? How did they make everything shake except for that one object? When you're a big fan of a movie and you get to see those things, it doesn't take the fun away from it. It adds to it. Like, oh, that's cool. That's how you did it. That's the feeling I got watching WWE Unreal. It didn't take away the spectacle. It added to it. Like, oh, okay, that's how you pulled off that special effect. It was really cool. And not to mention, I'm a big fan of just seeing the creative process in and of itself. So, on that note, if that stuff sounds fun to you and you have not yet checked out WWE Unreal because you're a little nervous that it's going to take the fun away, in my opinion, it won't. It'll only add to it. So, I really do very much recommend that if you're a wrestling fan, you need to check out WWE Unreal on Netflix. So So there you have it. That's my wrestling review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications for when I post new videos. And leave a comment I can respond to in my next comment corner. Tell me what you thought of WWE Unreal, whether it added to your fun of watching wrestling, or maybe, in your opinion, it took away from it. Love you guys.